Welcome back. Chapter 10. As she made dinner, Elise kept looking at the little shopping bag. Kent was going to be very angry when he saw the bill. So far, she hadn't come up with a plausible explanation. She didn't think, I wanted to thank one of the gardeners for being so nice to me, would calm him down. She could almost hear him. He talked in that kind, patient voice. He was a wise guru and was teaching her about life. Elise, he'd say, you do not buy a $5,000 gold watch for the gardener. A tip of, say, $50 would be more than sufficient. As he lectured, his voice would rise. He'd tell her how she didn't understand the value of money because she never had to earn it. Everything has always been given to you. My parents and I have had to work for what we have. This is where Elise would have to bite her tongue to keep quiet. Girl, I don't know why. You don't talk to... Her father was the moneymaker. He had an eye for a deal. When he got married, he was aware that his wife was a package deal with her best friend and her husband. Since the foursome got along well, it hadn't been a burden. It was Elise's mother who insisted her new husband give a job to their friends. So we can buy big houses next to each other. Kent's father was dubbed an executive vice president and put in charge of, well, no one was sure of what exactly, but he was paid well and the two men were good friends. Whenever Kent brought up what a hard-working family his was, Elise knew she couldn't say anything. To stand up to him with the truth made Kent go into a rage, then leave. One time, he stayed away for 3 days. Ooh, that sounds just like a narcissist. Tonight, she was preparing his favorite meal, meatloaf and mashed potatoes. For all his illustrious ancestry and the Ivy League education, his taste tended towards the ordinary. Kent's idea of a good time was a football game and buffalo wings. She took the meatloaf out of the oven just as she heard his car drive up. She grabbed the shopping bag and shoved it under the pot holders in the towel drawer. He entered, frowning, and Elise went to him to kiss him hello. Don't start on me. I'm not in the mood. Ooh, child. She stepped away. He'd been this way since the dinner party, angry, sullen, and as though he was deep in thought about something. In the past, she would have tried to coax him out of his bad mood, but tonight she didn't feel like doing that. She went to the kitchen, made herself a plate, then went outside to sit on the little patio to eat alone. Where was Alejandro? She wondered. In just a few more days, he'd leave to return to his own country. Would he fall in love with some beautiful girl with black hair and a red rose behind her ear? Will he return in the spring or stay there? If Diego had his way, by this time next year, Alejandro would have a new bride and a baby on the way. She could hear Ken inside the house as he opened drawers and slammed them. He wasn't used to having to serve himself. I have to do something about my life, she whispered. Really and truly do something. Before she was married, she thought that by this time she'd have a child to care for. She'd be one of those dedicated mothers who arranged play dates. She'd be head of the PTA and make sure the other mothers showed up when they were supposed to. There were tears running down her cheeks. No children, no job, a husband who could barely stand her. Yet she was constantly being told that she had everything. That night, she slept in the second bedroom. She had a fantasy that Kent would come to her and apologize for being such a beast. Then he'd make love to her, and in the morning, some deep intuition would tell her that she was pregnant. But he didn't do so much as tap on the door. The next morning, she stayed in the room until she heard him leave. He was going to be away for the night, and he banged his overnight case against the doorframe. It was the first time that she hadn't packed for him. When the house was quiet, she left the room and dressed carefully. She put on dark linen pants, a white blouse, and ballet flats. She got the little shopping bag out of the drawer and opened it. Inside was a gold Cartier watch. It was simple but elegant. When she seen it in the shop window, she thought it was like Alejandro. He may seem like an ordinary man, but to her, he was pure gold. She knew she had to give it to him, something to remember her by. When he wore it, she wanted him to think of her, to close his eyes and remember the laughter they'd share. Digging together, sitting in her closet while she tossed clothes at his feet, being at the nurseries and pulling wagons full of plants. She wanted to give him something so beautiful that he'd never forget her. Even if he married someone else and she never saw him again, she wanted a tiny bit of her heart to be his. When she left the house with the box bulging in her pocket, she didn't have to look far for him. He always seemed to stay nearby. In case she fell apart again and was crying, he'd run to rescue her. First, she went to Diago and invited them to her house at 3 for a thank you party. She didn't want to keep them after 5 so they could go home on time. Diago said they'd be there, but he looked cautious, as though he thought she was up to something, which she was. Elise wanted more time with Alejandro, as much time as she could get. Finally, she went to Alejandro. "Hi," she said. He stopped shoveling mulch and smiled at her. She hadn't seen him since the dinner party, the night they all had so much fun. The night Kent had sulked like a spoiled child. The night that Elise had not played her role of being less than he was. She looked around to make sure they were alone. "I can't thank you enough for what you did for me. The party went very well." "You like the food?" "Oh, very much." She sat down on the grass near him and watched as he went back to work. The sun hit his golden-toned skin, glistering off the coal black of his hair. After a while, he stopped shoveling and turned to her. He didn't say anything, but there was such longing in his eyes that it made her breath catch. She wanted to go to him, slide into his arms, and never let go. But her whole life of doing what she should and not what she wanted to held her back. He saw what she was thinking, gave a nod, then he put his shovel into the mulch and withdrew a scoop. Elise got up and went to stand by him. "I know you're leaving soon." She stepped closer. "My Spanish teacher and her grandchildren, mostly the kids, taught me how to cook some Mexican dishes. I told Diago that he and the men are invited to a little party at my house today at 3. Is that all right?" He put down his shovel and faced her. "Of course. That's very kind of you." His voice was so formal, so distant, that it felt as though he already left. "I wanted to give you a gift, something special from me." His eyebrows drew together. A gift? She pulled the box out of her pocket and handed it to him. Taking it, he frowned deeper. He opened the box, barely glanced inside, closed the lid, then shoved it back into her hands. With his shoulders straight, he swiftly walked away from her. For a moment, Elise just stood there. He looked as if he was angry at her. But how could that be? She hurried after him, but he was moving so fast that she had to run. When she was close, she grabbed his forearm, but he jerked away and kept going. "Will you please tell me what's wrong?" He didn't slow down or answer. Excuse me. When she saw that he was heading toward the back fence, she realized that he was going to the trucks. He was going to leave. Elise ran faster than she ever had, and just as he reached the gate, she threw herself in front of it. She was out of breath. He didn't speak, just crossed his arms over his chest and glared at the fence. He wouldn't meet her eyes. "What?" Pant, pant. "Did I?" Pant, pant. "Do?" He cut her a look of such anger that the hairs on her neck stood up. Then he looked back at the fence. To Elise's surprise, she didn't relent. When her parents or Kent got angry at her, she felt like a failure and skulked away. Maybe it has to do with Karen, she thought. She was always afraid of losing their love. But with Alejandro, it was different. She wasn't afraid of anything about him. Is that all you're going to do? Her teeth were clenched. Stand there and glare at the wall? You can't even speak to me? I wanted to give you a gift to remember me by. You are the one going away. This time next year, you'll probably be married and have a kid, while I'm... When he didn't look at her, she broke off. Oh, go away. I've had all the sulking, ungrateful men I could stand. I'm going to become a lesbian. The hell with all of you. She stomped away, but got only a few feet before he halted in front of her. She stepped around him and didn't slow down. Again, he put himself in front of her. Is that what you think of me? That I've done so much for you that you give me a tip? She was still holding the watch box. A gift is completely different. She waved her hand. You won't listen, so why bother? You and your sister are just alike. Cinnamon gun, Cartier watches, whatever. You twist them around so they've something bad. She looked him in the eyes. If you think I have some alternative motive for this, she held the watch box in front of his face, then I'd rather throw it in the lake than for you to have it. She looked at him with all the anger she felt. Her rage at Kent, her parents, what her life should be and wasn't, all of it was in her eyes. He stepped to one side and she started towards the house. Don't come to my party this afternoon, she said over her shoulder. It's for people I like. When she got to the house, she slammed the door shut. For hours, Elise worked like a demon on speed. She cooked and cleaned while playing music at a deafening level, anything to keep from thinking about what had happened. Why am I always wrong? She shouted, but the music was so loud that she couldn't hear herself. By 3, she had huge bowls of guacamole with a tub full of warm tortilla chips. She made chili, relanos, burritos, and rolled enchiladas. She did her best to smile when Diago and his men arrived, but her eyes were showing her anger. She turned the music down. Maybe we should come back, Diago said. No, of course not. I made lots of food. Eat. Take the leftovers home. Miguel turned to Franco and said in Spanish, I'm glad I'm not Alejandro. Elise whipped around and in Spanish said, Alejandro is a steaming pile of dog poop. You like guacamole? The men stepped back, eyes wide. See, is very good. Then eat it. In the house, she leaned against the refrigerator. She really did need to get herself under control. She put out only beer as the men had to drive home, but now she pulled limes out of the fridge. It was time for a margarita or 12. 2 hours later, Elise was laughing and dancing with one man after another. They took turns twirling her around. The music had changed to songs from Mexico that blared out from the cell phones of one of the men. At 6, Elise shouted that the men should go home to their families, but they said their wives and kids were in Mexico. She knew Diago's family was, but not the other men's. She raised her full glass, the rim coated in coarse salt. To loneliness, she yelled in Spanish. They all drank to it. Diago, the boss, the serious one who looked out for everyone, was the last to relax and enjoy himself. The men kept saying he was the best dancer, but it was nearly dark before Elise could get him onto his feet. He was good, moving around so easily that Elise glided across the stone terrace. Is this how you got your wife? She asked. I promised to get her out from under my mother's rule. She ran to me. He spun her around at arm's length. You are destroying my little brother. Good. He's ripping my heart out and it's bleeding all over my feet. I may drown in my own blood. She said this in Spanish, with such drama that Diago laughed. There are things about my family that you don't know. We keep our secrets to ourselves. So tell me your biggest, baddest one. Maybe I should. Maybe we should tell you. I'd like to hear of someone else's problem. Then I must be silent, Diago said. She started to ask him what he meant, but he whirled her away again. Then Miguel took her hand, then Franco, then she was in Alejandro's arms, her breast just touching his chest. He had on a shirt of pure white with ivory embroidery down the center and pearl buttons. His hair was washed and slicked back. There was little light on the patio, and the dusk made his eyes even darker. She pushed away from him, but he didn't let go. I hate you. I know. He pulled her to him so that her arms were folded onto his chest. His heart was beating against his cheek. The music changed to slow, and he swayed to it. I have to go back. To your real family? She said. No, it's not. Part of me will never again belong there. You're going to make me cry. Good. We will weep together. For a while they danced. She put one arm around him, one folded against his chest, and he held her fingers in his. We both have problems we need to solve, he said. Elise stiffened. You have a girlfriend? He chuckled. I wish it were so simple. When the music changed to a hard beat, Alejandro took Elisa's hand and led her into the garden, away from the men. They teased, but Alejandro didn't slow down. He stopped at the bench by the herb garden and they sat down. He didn't let go of her hand. When she looked up at him, her eyes begging him for a kiss, he didn't lean forward. He smoothed her hair behind her ears, then put her hand on his chest. We cannot start what we will not be able to stop. He stroked her hair. We both need to be sure, he said. I could not bear to be something you use then toss away. Oh, I wouldn't do that. Not intentionally, but I see you with your husband. There is a part of you that if he called, you would go. I would die if that happened. Her body was still, but her heart was about to leap out of her chest. He seemed to be saying he loved her, and he seemed to be very sure of how he felt. But for at least just last night, she'd been hoping to have Kent's baby. I am leaving in the morning. No, you can't. He squeezed her hand and smiled. I will return in the spring and we will see what has changed. You mean I'm to choose between you and my husband? You must decide much more than that. Your life, your home. You have never been away from your parents. Your husband treats you as a child. He has secrets that what? When he was silent, she leaned back to look at him. Diago was hinting at something, and now you. What are you trying to tell me? He took a while before answering. I am going to see that you know. When you have the facts, you will need to choose what you want to do. She could tell that he wanted her to know something, but she couldn't figure out what. I'm not sure I have the strength to do what you want of me. He pulled her head back down to his chest. You were very strong when you saw the truth of what could happen. You were right to stop it. You mean when I ran away from you after we finished the garden? Yes, you were stronger than I was. I was to the point where all I could think of was getting you in bed with me. Really? She sounded enthusiastic that he laughed. It was after you ran away that I missed you. Did you? She asked. Every minute of every day, I longed for you, to hear you laugh, to talk with you, just to be near you. I felt the same way, she whispered. How could you feel anything other than cold in your tiny red swimsuit? Can't really swim in that thing. It tends to come off. Alejandro groaned. You are wicked to tease me so. We need time to figure out all of this. She waited for him to continue, but he didn't need to. She understood what he meant. How could they blend their lives together? Elise needed to be absolutely sure of what to do about Kent. And what about her parents? Could she get a job somewhere? Yes, she managed to whisper. She didn't know she was crying until she felt the wetness of his shirt. I will come for you in the spring. Then you can tell me what you've decided. What about you? I know what I want. I've always known. From the first time I saw you, I was lost. His arms tightened on her. I will pray. I will wish up stars. I will buy potions. He paused. I will hope. When I return and see you again, I will know what you have decided. He leaned away from her and put her hands on her lap. I must go now, or I'll not be able to control myself. She put her hand on his cheek. Alejandro, please stay, just tonight, one night. Holding her hand to his face, he kissed her palm, then released it. He stood up and stepped into the dark and was gone. And that's the end of chapter 10. He makes some valid points. I'm glad that there's somebody sensible in that situation, because she just going off of loneliness. But he got a clear head. He was like, don't play with me. I'm not the one. So I like that part about him. Not, crossing the line per se, because she's a married woman that's confused and lonely. And I already said I'm sick of her husband. She need to grow some courage and confront the situation. Maybe it's harder than what I'm thinking it is, but yeah, it could be. Let me just say it could be hard to make those decisions, because you'll be definitely doing what's the word? You'll be like pulling the rug up from up under your life, and you got to figure it out when you don't know where you're going to go. Okay, so that's the end of the chapter, and I shall see you in the next chapter. Bye for now.